Hey everyone, welcome to another Clean Machine Live. Before we get started, let's go ahead and put up the disclaimer. This video is for informational, educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. So let's jump right into the study because it's a really good one. So this is a 2024 study, just came out this year, and long-term improvement in hippocampal-dependent learning ability. Hippocampus is a section of the brain where we do a lot of our learning and processing in healthy aged individuals following high intensity interval training, also known as HIIT. Okay, so what is HIIT? HIIT is doing very intense short bursts of training. So let's jump into that. And as always, that's the title of the study so that you can look it up, and the link to the study and the green segment below it so that you can look it up on the website. So let's dive into the study. The study paired the effect of 3 different 6-month exercise regimens on cognition in healthy elderly between the ages of 65 and 85 individuals that did not have cognitive deficits. Okay, so healthy minds, and then put them on exercise regimens for 6 months. And the exercise regimens were supervised, so it was 72 supervised exercise sessions over a 6-month period. Okay, it was divided into 3 different groups. The low intensity training, or LIT, medium intensity, and of course, high intensity interval training. Now, the reason they add interval in there on the high intensity, because humans can't really sustain a prolonged, very high intensity style training. We tire out. But we can do short bursts of training. Now, we can do not so intense endurance style training that we can last for hours. Even some ultra endurance athletes can run for an entire 24-hour period. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about high intensity. So real intense, short bursts, then rest, come back down to a normal heart rate or close to it, then another burst or intense cycle. Now, this can be done with both cardio exercises as well as resistance training exercises too. So they incorporated both in this one. And after 6 months, only the high intensity group actually displayed significant improvements in cognitive function. So that was interesting in itself, that 6 months of training, if you did low intensity or medium intensity, did not show significant improvements in brain function. And that is impaired associative learning, or PAL, they call it. Okay, so they did MRIs, magnetic resonance imaging, to get a look at the brain, and from the HIIT group, and they showed no abrogation of the age-dependent volumetric decrease in several cortical regions, including hippocampus, and improved functional connectivity between multiple neuronal networks not seen in the other groups. Okay, translate that for me, all that geek speak. Okay, basic translation is that they saw less brain shrinkage and better brain functioning, how well the synapses, the nerves, the neurons communicated to each other. So less brain shrinkage with a HIIT training, folks. Now, this is really interesting because we know that when we stimulate the body really intensely, the brain fires. And this firing activity is kind of exercising the brain, so to speak, as well. Now, we've seen brain shrinkage as people age. But is that because of nutrition? Possibly. It may be a good contributor. We actually have seen studies that show poor nutrition leads to brain shrinkage over time. Even Insufficient omegas can lead to brain shrinkage over time. But this actually shows that exercise prevented that brain shrinkage in elderly people. And check this out, it changed the levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, short BDNF, and reduced cortisol too as well. Now, cortisol can have a negative impact on the brain. That's our stressor. Some cortisol is necessary for short, intense bursts, but we want to get that up and get it out. And that's quickly. It's the sustained chronic stress, like being under stress for long periods of time, like in a workplace or driving for long periods of time. So exercise can actually help clear out that cortisol and reduce cortisol, bring it back down into normal levels too as well. But more importantly here is they found increased levels of BDNF. Now, BDNF is used, let's go ahead and put it up on the screen. BDNF helps regulate synaptic. The synapse is the little gap between our neurons in our brain that fire the chemicals like serotonin or epinephrine or dopamine. All these are released from one synapse and received on the other synapse. And that's how our neurons talk to each other, by releasing these chemicals. So synaptic plasticity means the ability to change those easily, and those connections be able to adjust and even spread or create more connections. It's called dendrites. So you have like the nerve cell here, and then it'll have multiple dendrites or multiple connections. So this neuroplasticity is our brain's ability to change based on the input, based on our experiences. So as you can see, BDNF helps regulate synaptic plasticity, which is the ability of synapses to change and adapt over time in response to our experiences, what we learn, what happens to us emotionally, physically, intellectually, energetically. So this is important for learning and memory. So with this increased level of BDNF, we have better working brains. BDNF is also important for cellular regeneration and renewal, and for nerve and brain growth and development, especially when we're young, but all throughout our life too as well. So BDNF is really important. But with all this probably the next sentence is, or the next couple sentences are really important here. So the overall arching thing for the study is they found these findings demonstrate that high intensity interval training significantly improved and prolongs cognitive health in aged individuals. Now, this is pretty interesting. So what they did was they followed people after this study, and this is what they found. Importantly, improvement was retained for at least five years following this 6 months of HIIT training, high intensity interval training. 5 years worth of benefits you had even if you stopped the interval training. Now, this is really cool because we're talking something that has really long-lasting health benefits for the brain. And that's why it's important to start anytime in your life. Remember, these people were 65 to 85 years old already and started doing this HIIT training, and they're seeing 5 years worth of improvements to their brain. Excuse me. Less brain shrinkage, more synapse talking, more complex cross-talking in the brain, more health of our dendrites and our neurons in the brain, and the improvement lasts for 5 years, even after they stopped doing the exercise. This is how vital and important intense training is. Remember, it showed that it was only in the HIIT group that they saw these improvements, improved function and connectivity, and less brain shrinkage, not seen in the other groups. That's the low intensity and the medium intensity. So intensity really seems to matter here, both for getting muscular benefits, training with intensity, but also brain health benefits, training with intensity. Now, with that intensity, our body is really trying hard to get results, get answers, whatever, like things like that. So I think this intensity really steps up our brain activity, and that's what really helps with the growth. So one of those things it was doing was increasing BDNF. So we know this very intense style of training improves BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor. Tropic meaning change or health, neuro meaning brain, okay, or nerve. So this factors, these proteins that are generated that help accelerate brain growth and repair is amazing. But what else improves BDNF? Well, a really nice study here that they took, it was way back in 2015, so this is almost 10 years old already, but oral consumption of omega-3 ALA, alpha linolenic acid. It increased serum BDNF levels in healthy adult humans. So let's take a dive into that study. And it showed that the plasma levels of BDNF, so once you elevate BDNF in the brain, it actually can seep out into the bloodstream, and you can measure it in the bloodstream just by doing a simple blood draw. The BDNF is created in the brain, but then gets into the bloodstream, so you can see how much has been elevated in the brain too as well. It's not exactly a one-to-one, but close enough that you can measure when you do something that it elevates BDNF, it shows up in the bloodstream too as well. So that's exactly what they found. They found a significant increase in individuals with the oral capsules of ALA, just like you would get by taking ahi flower. Ahi flower's ALA also has SDA2, which has also been shown to help with brain functioning, including preserving gray brain matter, as well as increasing fluid intelligence. So really important there to make sure you're getting sufficient amounts of ALA in there, plus the SDA. And of course, ahi flower is the richest source of SDA of any plant known. Okay, but what about this intense exercise? Does it have important effects on other aspects of the brain, like mood and behavior? Well, this study actually looked at just that. So they looked at the effects of exercise on symptoms of anxiety in primary care patients. Now, this was a randomized control study, and here are the study results. So there was significant intensity trend for improvement. That is, the more intensely they exercised, the more their anxiety symptoms improved. So we can see here too now that real intense training not only is improving our cognitive abilities, but it's improving our brain and emotional improvements too as well. So we're seeing it's benefiting anxiety, it benefits depression, and it benefits cognitive health, as well as obviously muscle exercise too. So the significant intensity trend for improvement, and this is showing the more intense you train, the more it relaxes and calms the body, relieves anxiety, relieves depression, minor depression. And of course, I'm not suggesting you, if you are on antidepressants, talk with your doctor about that. I'm not suggesting that you should substitute exercise, but including exercise and including intense training sessions might be helpful for you if you do have some of these issues. Okay, but what about not just exercise, but what about the food intake? Well, of course, the food intake matters too as well. But this was a really interesting study. It was actually a pretty good sized study. I'll get into that in just a second. Over 4,000 people in the study. But they looked at the effect on physical activity when you combined it with fruit and vegetable intake and cognitive decline in older, in this case, it was people living in Taiwan. Okay, so what was the study based on? It was based on over 4,000 respondents over 53 years of age, and it was 16-year longitudinal study. Longitudinal means a very long time span. So this was really nice that it looked at it for such a long period of time and looked at it basically on who ate the most fruits and vegetables and who exercised the most. Okay, so they did find huge improvements. Basically, the higher the fruits and vegetables, the highest group of fruit and vegetable intake was associated with a decrease in cognitive decline by 40%. So huge. Plants are loaded with polyphenols that are neuroprotective. They protect against brain shrinkage. They protect against brain damage because they're neuroprotective. So really good, strong stuff. But what about if you also exercise? That's great that it's reducing cognitive decline by 40%. I mean, that's incredible just by eating more plants. But what if you combine that with exercise? And boom, the risk of cognitive decline decreased 63% when high physical activity and high fruit and vegetable intake were combined. This is where it gets really exciting. And that's why I am all about plant-based fitness nutrition. Eat more plants, exercise with more intensity. Here I am at 61 years of age, drug-free, no medications, no health conditions, and a firing brain on all cylinders. That's what I want for you. This is what the studies are showing. A high intensity training combined with high fruit and vegetable intake, and bam, 63% decrease in cognitive decline. I love my brain. I love what it does for me. I enjoy thinking about all these amazing things and studies that I enjoy reading because I can share it with people, and people can get benefits from it and share it with those who they love and help them live the healthiest and fullest lives possible. Okay, so I wanted to take this concept. All right, well, if plants have all these amazing polyphenols in them, right? Good for the brain, good for cardiovascular health, good for reducing type 2 diabetes, good for all different things, cellular protective, neuroprotective. I'm like, okay, but can they also help us get better results in the gym? So let's take a look at this next study. This is why I used this study to build my pre-workout, which is intense, Clean Preworkout. Now this was developed using these two ingredients. Let me see if I've got the pictures here. I don't. All right, but I got the test results. All right. Okay, so this is using Indian globe thistle and combining it with mango tree bark, and it increases muscle strength. So the study actually showed a 4 times increase in muscle size when you use 2 scoops of the intense product, up to 20% more muscle strength, at 35% more muscle endurance, and interestingly, up to 21% increase in free testosterone in men only. I'm going to show you a study to show you that, because they actually did a study with both men and women, because this first study was a double-blind, placebo-controlled, but in males, so young male volunteers. So this was only in men, and it increased testosterone 21%. That would probably be a result of the increased endurance, increased muscle strength, and even increased muscle size too as well. And they found that the results were as early as 14 days fast acting for muscle gains in size and in strength. Okay, but they said, all right, but what about women? Because a lot of women are saying, well, if it increases testosterone, is it going to increase testosterone in me? Well, let's take a look at their study results. And this is the study results here. You can see the first study, it showed both in men and women a 2 to 3 times gains in lean muscle mass. That means less body fat. And in both men and women, they both reduced body fat. And then they both increased lean muscle mass. So this is awesome. This is exactly what you want out of a true pre-workout. Published clinical trials in men and women showing lowered body fat and more muscle strength and more muscle size and more lean muscle mass. Okay, everything you want, but that testosterone question, because I get a lot of women saying, hey, wait, I don't want to increase my testosterone. No worries. Take a look at this graph. They tested it in men and women. Men got a 3 times increase amount in testosterone, and women's testosterone did not change at all using the exact same ingredients. Now, this is pretty unique that these herbs only affected men for testosterone and did not affect women's testosterone levels. Now, this is really good because women still got the strength gains, still got the body fat loss, still got the lean muscle mass gains, but the guys got the testosterone boost. Now, this is like the ideal scenario to have a pre-workout that works this well for both men and women. That's why I was so excited to be one of the very first to bring this to market. And the results in women were just as effective. So this is a product called Intense because I'm trying to increase your intensity, right? That's the little pun there, intense. And I want you to do these intense workouts because it's better for the brain. It's better for fat loss. It's better for muscle building. It's better for the body and its adaptive abilities. And it even boosts immune health too, strengthens the immune system. So you can get that by using just herbs, natural herbs. Also, the Intense stands for the number of ingredients in there. There are 10 high polyphenol ingredients. So they're cellular protective, they're anti-aging, they are neuroprotective, they are good for gut health. Remember, polyphenols are prebiotics. They feed our probiotics in our gut. So our microbiome benefits from these polyphenols too as well. These are 10 of the top polyphenol different vegetables and sources that are out there. And I put them all together. There's both going to give you gains in the gym, gains in the brains, and health gains too as well, from immune health to heart health to gut health, all in here. And that's what you should be expecting out of a true health promoting pre-workout supplement. Okay, so let's get back to the brain-derived neurogrowth, BDNF. I'm stumbling on my words today. Okay, so this is an interesting study on the ALA, which I talked to you about with ahi flower. By taking ahi flower before, you can boost your BDNF, and you can see the spikes there. The dark spikes are the increase in the hippocampus and then the neocortex. These are processing centers of the brain. So ALA, omega-3 ALA, increases BDNF in the brain. So this is pretty amazing too, that you can get all these benefits. Okay, so let me go back to the captions. And this was the study in the women, and it showed 4 times greater strength improvement, 52% increase in resistance to muscular fatigue, so better endurance, 52% increase in endurance, 86% greater improvement in functional mobility, the ability to move and with the weights. So all of this is just really incredible results. And by combining these 10 different plant sources of high polyphenol rich sources that will promote our health, our brain health, our gut health, and of course, give you incredible results in the gym. Look, if I can be 61 and have arms like this, that's just an example of what you can achieve when you give your body optimal nutrition, not just sufficient nutrition, not just enough to get you through the day, but to boost up these effects and see what your body responds and how it responds when you train with intensity. So get in there and train intensity. Your brain is counting on it. Remember that intense training, 5 years worth of benefits to your brain health, lowering the risk for brain shrinkage, lowering the risk for dementia by 40%, of cognitive decline by 40%, 63% when you combine it with fruits and vegetables. Yeah, higher intake of fruits and vegetables, but I put those higher content polyphenols condensed and concentrated into the intense pre-workout so that you can get those benefits. Even if you're not vegetarian or vegan, you can really get some incredible benefits by boosting concentrated amounts of high polyphenol rich foods and plants, like the 10 different polyphenol rich plants in intense. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. The studies are out there showing training with intensity. There's great research on type 2 diabetes. They put people on training, they put people on a diet, and only a small portion of people improved. But when they upped their training intensity, 60 to 70% of people improved, and almost all of them improved somewhat, but 60 to 70% improved significantly. So the training intensity matters. It matters for your brain, it matters for your muscles, and it matters for your overall health. Both immune health, heart health, everything in your body is going to respond better. Basically, the more you put into the exercise, the more you're going to get out of it. So eat with nutrient density. That's those polyphenol-rich plants. Train with intensity, and then just keep consistent. So consistency, intensity, and nutrient density. If you do those three, you'll get great results. Thanks. We'll see you next time.